Hello everyone, if you're watching this video, it means that you want to know how to make a Windows 10 wrist computer. Now, given that today's standards, these parts come very small, it is actually a lot easier to do than you might think it is. Arguably, one of the most important components for this build is going to be this thing right here. It is called the Windows Compute Stick, or the Intel Compute Stick, depending on who you ask. This is the most critical, important part. Now, some people might tell you, go get a Raspberry Pi, or you can build an Adreno, or this or that. And the Adreno isn't going to work for that anyways, because that's the wrong thing. I don't know what I'm talking about. The Raspberry Pi, most of them are incapable of running Windows. And if you do want them to run Windows, certain ones can, it requires a specific workaround where you have to install certain things to get it to basically emulate Windows. And given the fact that most of my audience probably doesn't know how to do that, we're going to stick with the Intel Compute Stick. Now, it is important that when you get a battery pack, like the one that I'm disassembling specifically for this, because I'm going to be moving the casing to where the battery is inside it, and I need it stripped outwards, that you get one that is capable of supplying 3 amps. Because the compute stick requires at least 3 amps to run. I know this because this is the weakest one that I could find, and even it requires 3 amps of power. Any less, and it will not boot. It is just incapable of booting at anything less. Even if it's 2 amps, same voltage, it will not boot. You gotta remember that this thing is a full-blown computer. And this computer is pushing a display as well. If it's running 3 amps, connected to this USB dongle, it will push this display and everything in it fine. But if it's not connected to 3 amps, it will not even turn on regardless of what's plugged into it. If you can find one capable of supporting 4 amps, I would go for that one. Just because then the computer has the additional power when it's needed. As far as the display goes, I would get whatever you are comfortable with mounting onto your wrist. I currently have a 4-inch display that is no longer touchscreen because I broke the pins. My workaround was a mouse, but I actually swapped out the mouse for something entirely different. This is a keyboard/trackpad combo. I use it to control this thing because this is a lot better than using the on-screen keyboard. At some point, my wish is to have it directly mounted where it folds underneath or slides inward. Now that is going to be really difficult to do because of the fact that I might have to take it apart. But once it's done, it will be completely worth it. It is also worth noting that this button layout is not a standard keyboard layout. It is in fact a basic lattice button layout. That means all the buttons are parallel to each other. There is no staggering of the buttons like you are used to in a regular keyboard. That is because the shift and caps lock and all those other things are not standard. They're smaller. They're the same size as all the other buttons. That's what causes the staggering. Even the space bar is only 3 buttons long. They did that to make this as small as possible. Given the fact that it fits in the palm of your hand, I think they did the job. It is also worth noting that when you buy something like this, it will be powered by AAA batteries. Either that or you'll have to find a way to jury-rig it into the power supply of this thing, which is something that I will be doing once it is able to be connected properly. But I gotta find a mechanism that either swivels it out flat or has it like this where it pulls out like that, which is probably what I want to do, but it's probably gonna be the hardest one to do. Mainly because of I don't know of anything that does that besides certain Android phones, and even they have some problems engineering that when they are professionals. I am just a moron doing this. Why do I call myself a moron? Just because this has been something that I've been working on for about 4 months, and I'm still trying to figure out how to get it into housing. Another important thing to worry about is accessibility of USB ports. This thing only comes with 2 USB 3.0 ports, which I've divided into an important one that isn't even being used, an SD card slot, which for some reason I haven't used, and this one which has been divided into 4 separate ones. Now when it comes to the HDMI cable and all that other beautiful stuff, this is quite bulky, and this is because I used one off the store shelves, which was quite hard to do, given the fact that it was hard to find a female to female anyways. And what I've done is I found a ribbon style one. I also found a ribbon style for the USB, but let's face it, it's going to be a minute before I can even get the bog standard stuff in here. The ribbon cable is for the HDMI and for the power supply for this display, because I want them to be ribbons. As far as the power supply for the actual PC, it is still a standard cable, because this is the only cable I can find with a 180 degree turn. As far as the housing goes, which is probably the last major component, I would recommend 3D printing it like I did. But even this can cause some other problems. Like, some people don't know how to 3D model or anything. I did buy a junction box to move the housing into, but I didn't pay attention to the sizing, and this is clearly way too big. I will be buying a new housing that is smaller, but it's going to take some time for it to be delivered. This is the best bet, although, like I said, it's too big. I was going for a 3" by 6" by 2", and for some reason, I bought a 7" by 4" by 4". Make sure you click on the right one before you purchase it. This only cost me $10, so I'm not mad about it, but the box that I am going to be buying is $8. Now, you could spend maybe $2, $3 in plastic printing one of these yourself. This casing itself only cost me $1.50 to print. But at the same time, the printer costs $200 and something. I don't remember the exact price of it, and I'm not going to buy a new one since I broke it. I'm just going to stick to buying the pre-made stuff and then cutting it with a Dremel. I don't even know why I marked this, because I knew when I bought it, it was too big. Maybe I was just like, hey, if we can cut it to a certain size, nope, it's still too big. Alright. Especially since I would have to buy a new display. This thing can fit 3 displays of this caliber in here, and I don't feel like doing that. I also don't feel like having a tiny display and a shit ton of open space. I mean, Jesus Christ, this thing is hard to wear, and this thing is just as big as that. That's with nothing in it. That's with no modifications whatsoever, and it's just basically a cube. It's this thing, but less aesthetic. If you guys enjoyed this tutorial, please like and subscribe for more. If you didn't, feel free to give me a thumbs down or a middle finger in the comments. Honestly, I don't care what you do, as long as you do you. That's all I've got for this video. Peace out, and have a good day.